those parties, and I'm not talking about the parties that people are talking about. I'm talking about the iconic, like the white party, like that, his events, which was a big part of his prowess as an entrepreneur, was that he just knew how to bring people together and do amazing events. Those things were people like killing themselves to be invited to those events. And all of those people are now nowhere to be seen.
Jameel, you in the beginning of the conversation, you referenced Puff, and you spoke about how he's a close friend of yours, one of your best friends. I actually pulled a quote. It goes all the way back where he spoke about you. And I don't know if you'll remember this, but he said, Jameel is a close personal friend, a trusted partner. He's a young leader with a tremendous future in marketing and advertising. That quote goes back, I think, like 2020, maybe more than 20 years ago. I'm curious, like, we're talking there's a lot of emotion in this conversation, integrity, heart, respect. With everything that's happening in the news these days with regards to Puff, how do you feel he's being treated? What do you think is going to happen? Just with regards to this, this
Yeah,
crazy,
I mean,
this
listen.
crazy story, this crazy news cycle.
Yeah, I think that my perspective is very specific and very personal, right? So like the person and by the way, it's interesting to hear that statement, right? Because again, like I told you, he saw something in me before maybe I was aware of it myself, or maybe it was something I was aware of and I forgot, and he reminded me of it, right? But I'd say this: um, I've I've always been the person that's here in front of you right now, right? It's always been a part of who I was, and maybe I wasn't always acting like it, but it was always who I was, and he saw that in me. So I was always the person. Like I would never be aware of any of the types of things that they're suggesting about this man, because that's kind of not, it wasn't my brand. So if those things were happening, they were happening, around me, and I would be unaware of them because I would never go for it, right? Um, I would say this: we're living in a world where public opinion becomes like the reality. I think some of it is so like over the top that it's like kind of not plausible to begin with. But listen, one thing you can't unsee is the image of him and Cassie. You can't unsee that. And I loved her. I was very close with her as well. I still like, I'm very fond of her as a human being, very happy for her, how she's moved on with her life. You can't unsee that. I would say this. This is my real honest opinion of the whole Puff thing is somewhere along the line, he became so drunk with power. And I think they're drugs. I think drugs are really, really at the centerpiece of this whole thing. And so I don't know what's true and what's not true. I would tell you that probably a lot of this stuff, he doesn't know what's true or not true. Right. But at the end of the day, man, like my focus is like his children. His children, like I said, I known the kids before, like since they were born. I've been to the football games. I've been flipping Christian in the pool. Like that's my family. And the time someone needs you is not when they're doing well. There's a lot of people, those parties, and I'm not talking about the parties that people are talking about. I'm talking about the iconic, like the white party, like that, his events, which was a big part of his prowess as an entrepreneur, was that he just knew how to bring people together and do amazing events. Those things were people like killing themselves to be invited to those events. And all of those people are now nowhere to be seen, right? And so I'm gonna stand by his children. I'm gonna be, the uncle that I've always been, and I'm gonna hope that that this stuff is not true. And if it's true, I'm gonna hope everything happens the way it's supposed to happen, right? I'm guessing that whatever's going on right now is probably better than the alternative, right? Because I think he might have been on a journey that was going to end way worse than this, and this is pretty freaking bad, right? So just imagine if it was something worse was in store, and this is better. I never question God. Let's say that.
So are you saying, just so I understand, are you saying like Diddy was so mixed up in drug use himself that he was on a crash course with death? Like he was like it was either get arrested and stop this machine of personal destruction, or literally die.
I believe that. I believe that in
Wow.
my heart of hearts.
Wow, that's crazy. Have you spoke with him at all? Have you been able to see him at all?
I've been, like I said, I've been to court, two of the last three dates, and I haven't been able to actually talk to him, but I've waved from afar. But, he knows I'm there. He knows I'm there supporting. I talk to his kids pretty regularly. That again, that's the most important part because, like I said, my kids and his kids grew up together. Like my daughter and his son graduated from high school together. They've been friends since they were 2 years old. So that's really the focus right now because no matter what, I know one thing for sure: they are guilty of nothing.
Well, it's interesting because Diddy's like been this incredible marketer who's been able to reinvent himself and create, culture around him, a brand portfolio, as you alluded to, unlike any other, really. It's been incredible what he's created. Do you think that the media is maligning him? Do you think that it's fair that now the entire world thinks that he's guilty of all of these atrocities? Essentially, like the media has decided that he's guilty, right? And therefore now the public thinks he's guilty. What's your take on that?
I think the world we live in, it doesn't matter if it's fair. I think it's in, like, you know what I mean. It's irrelevant. Like
Yeah.
nobody wants to consider that doesn't like you don't get credit for it not being fair. Like that, it's just kind of like because you could say on the other hand, when things were going well, they were a part of that inertia as well, right? So like what builds you up is the same thing that can pull you down, and you have to contribute to it one way or the other. It definitely feels like a lot, right? But whether it's fair or not is kind of irrelevant. Like it kind of is what it is, and he's got to deal with it. And it seems like more of the stuff will come out as the thing moves forward. And I'm just wishing him the best.
You're a good man, Jameel. You have integrity. I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate that.